So intrusion detection is one more mechanism where in a network there can be an attacker who intrudes into a network and starts attacking your system. For example, denial of service attack by accessing, making use of your resources and trying to get an application down, or crashing a server will lead to denial of service. So an attacker can intrude into your network, come into your network traffic and try to do malicious activity in your infrastructure. So intrusion detection softwares are available, which are at server level as well as at the network level. So at network level they do packet filtering, so they sniff the network traffic and take each of the packet and analyze and see whether there is a pattern of attack in that network traffic. And at server level they monitor the different operations, how the processors are accessing the system. So they monitor the usage of operating system at the server level and check if there is a intrusion which has happened in your server, and also they prevent the attack. Okay, coming back to role-based access control. As I explained, the data which is available in your cloud should be available only to the authorized user. A finance department data cannot be accessed by HR, or HR data which is confidential cannot be accessed by should not be accessed by a normal employee. So the common way of ensuring this is simple ACLs, which is access control list, but sometimes they may not be very effective. So role-based access control is additional level of security software which makes sure that only the authorized user can access a particular resource, maybe it a website or hardware or any of your applications. So identity management is again one more concern, where making sure in a public cloud infrastructure you have multiple users belonging to multiple organizations, and making sure that as I explained earlier, authentication, where ensuring that the user is who the user claims to be. So by adding multiple layers of security like multi-factor authentication or biometric authentication can make sure that only authorized user can log into your system. So also there is one more concept called federated identity management, where multiple organizations share the user data and in a trusted and secure way make sure that the user is authenticated. For example, you might have seen that login with your Facebook ID when you try to log into LinkedIn, or so how this happens is the Facebook and LinkedIn might have establish a trust relation. So then they are not aware of passwords, but if you log into LinkedIn through Facebook, Facebook will tell LinkedIn that in a software mechanism that this user is who the user claims to be. So this is called federated identity management. So OpenID is one of the standards for identity federation. So one more concept is governance, risk and compliance. So governance refers to the policies and processes and laws of an organization. So each organization will have its own security policies which will have a different set of policies to be enforced at its IT level. So making sure that these policies are enforced correctly in a cloud infrastructure is also important. Also there are external regulations. For example, banking sector has its own set of laws making sure that the confidential data of the user is not compromised. So healthcare industry has its own set of laws. So all these government regulations also have to be followed by a company, otherwise company can be prosecuted. So making sure that all the internal and external rules and regulations are followed is also an important factor. So in case of a traditional data center, the IT department of that company will take care of it. But in case of cloud, the cloud service provider along with the organization's IT department has to ensure that the organization's policy is also applied in cloud environment. So risk management will assess the risk involved in moving asset from normal classic data center to a cloud environment, and compliance is adhering to the rules and regulations. So risk assessment is very important while deciding to move your applications and data to cloud, because if your data is very critical and there are compliance and regulations which have to ensure that your data should not be compromised. So you should make sure that even in cloud environment all these regulations are taken care and your data is secure. So risk assessment will tell you what are your key assets which are very critical and what are the assets which are not very critical, and what are the levels of security you have to enforce on these resources. Compliance again makes sure that your internal and external rules and regulations have been enforced correctly. So auditing is one way of making sure that go back to the system and see whether all the regulations have been enforced. So as the companies are moving towards cloud, one of the major reason why the companies are moving to cloud is the lower operational cost. So running your applications in cloud is much more cheaper than having it in a classic data center where you have to buy your own hardware and software. But there is a chance of increased risk in moving to cloud. So the ultimate goal of cloud computing has to decrease the operational cost and increase the revenue, and also reduce the risk. So cloud security mechanisms and cloud security measures taken by a company ensures that the risk of moving to cloud has been reduced, and company can make use of cloud computing to decrease their operational costs and increase their revenue. So that is the ultimate goal of cloud computing. So with that, we come to the end of this session. Thank you.